Hi, I'm Kay from the Immigration People. Today we have a very special guest. He's a good friend of mine and we have been collaborating for a few years now, and he's Chung Ting Fai. Ting Fai is actually a lawyer in Singapore and he owns his own practice, which is Chung Ting Fai Co, and he specializes in handling corporate and civil law. He used to hold onto a Hong Kong passport, but now he's a Singaporean. Given his background, he has many clients which is foreigner based in Singapore. Perhaps Ting Fai, you would like to give a short introduction about yourself and your law firm to our viewers?
Sure. Hello everyone, I'm Ting Fai. I'm a lawyer. I practice under the name of Chung Ting Fai Company. We are a team of 6 lawyers dedicated to serve all aspects of your legal needs, from corporate to intellectual property, from immigration to conveyancing, and also family office.
Ting Fai, is there any area that you are more specific in?
I myself, I do more on corporate and intellectual property. These years, I'm also a certified family office advisor.
That's great. Yeah. So given the current landscape, right, in Singapore, there are quite a lot of family offices were set up, right?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
And also a lot of people trying to migrate to Singapore.
Yeah.
I'm sure that your businesses must have good for you too.
Yeah. Not bad, not bad. That's why we're working so closely together.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually today, right, we want to talk about a few topics. We would like our viewer to understand more about, some immigration law in Singapore. Yeah, so maybe I give you my first question.
Sure.
My first question is, in what circumstances that someone will lose his PR status because of offences or crime in Singapore?
I see. Traditionally, if you are given a PR status, it is not easy to lose one status because, as the name suggests, PR means permanent residence. However, if you are in breach of the law, especially of a serious crime, then you may have your permanent residence status cancelled. And also because due to the COVID, you have also heard cases where even PRs who are working in Singapore, when they were in breach of the COVID-19 legislation, some of them had also their status cancelled. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it depending on how serious.
That's right, and also depends firstly on the severity of the offence, and secondly on whether what emphasis does a law enforcement place on that particular offence during that period of time.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. So during COVID, right, they are quite strict about.
Yes, I think the more so are those cases where they have work pass cancelled upon the conviction, but there are also people who lose their PR status as well.
Ting Fai, I just have a question that I'm quite curious. Is there any way that you can find out whether this person has conviction, based out of Singapore or in Singapore itself?
I see. For certain jurisdiction, I think you can actually instruct lawyers over there to find out. But as far as Singapore is concerned, there is no open registry where members of the public can check. However, some prospective employer, especially in the financial sector, may also do some due diligence on their part to inquire whether that person have a previous conviction.
Yeah. Does your legal firm provide such service to provide,
we can't really show,
check?
We can't do extensive check, but sometimes when the person has been convicted and the cases are reported, then I think we are able. Our search will actually draw a fine for them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as you may know, right, we are helping with Singapore PR and citizenship application. We have come across clients who admitted to us that they have previous, offences, that they have, breached the law back in their home country, and we're supposed to declare in their PR application.
That's right, yeah.
So there's a section in the questionnaire that we have to declare. So do you provide, this kind of drafting of declaration to ICA?
Yes, sometimes I think that if it is a minor offence, I think it's actually, or if it is any offence, it is actually good that they come forthwith with that rather than to be discovered later on. Because otherwise then that could be actually making false declaration. So at the same time, sometimes if these offences happen long ago when they are very young, or it's something that is there are reasons why certain offences are committed, then actually they can also provide some kind of explanation to the authorities to explain themselves. I think that would be a better method.
I think one of the commonly, make offences overseas will be speeding. So a lot of my clients will ask me, I got a speeding offence in my home country before. Should I declare in the PR applications?
I think
What
they
do you
should.
think?
They should. Yeah, then I think you explain away because I don't think that Singapore will refuse a talented person just because he sped in a car sometime back. Yeah.
Yeah, but is speeding a big offense in Singapore itself?
It is not, but it's considered an offense, especially if you are convicted in the court of law. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's only a fine
If
and
it's a
not...
composition, then I think that then it can be, theoretically, it is still a conviction, but you can explain that it is a composition. Composition is when you just pay a fine when you are caught with an offense. It's sort of like an early settlement, like when you're caught littering or caught smoking outside the yellow box, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good advice.
Yes.
Ting Fai, if a foreigner convicted a crime in Singapore,
Mm.
what are the implications to his PR application? Or if he's a PR, right, what will be the implication on his status?
Okay. First, let's talk before he become a PR. If it's a prior conviction, if it's as stated earlier, if it's a minor offense like smoking in a non-vaccinated area, littering, all this will not affect his application. But however, if he's actually being charged and convicted in a court of law for more serious offences, like for example, CB, criminal breach of trust, or maybe injuring somebody, then that could actually adversely affect his PR application. On the other hand, and for those people who already have their PR status, conviction of minor offences and even moderate offences would not actually make them lose their PR. But however, if they have commit very serious offences, then their PR could be revoked. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So Ting Fai, I'm not sure if it's a bit sensitive, but I think the viewer, are very interested to know some of the cases you handle, which is related to maybe a Singapore PR.
Yes. I think a lot of not serious cases, but I think something that people can bear in mind is that being a PR, you need to actually return to Singapore with a valid re-entry permit.
Yes.
Yeah, I think especially during this COVID period, a lot of people who left Singapore somehow forgot to renew their re-entry permit. And then I think that in such a case, unfortunately, ICA doesn't give exception. I think you are sure, I'm sure you know, and they may not be able to renew their PR. Sometimes on commission of very serious offence, they can also have their PR revoked. In fact, when you apply for PR or citizenship, if the particulars that you have provided for are false or falsified, then there's a chance that upon discovery that your PR or your citizen will be revoked altogether. This has happened to some of my clients. Yes.
Perhaps you can share a bit of case study if it's okay?
Yeah, so for example, when they apply for PR, they have stated that they are a graduate of certain university, which is not true. Then that caused them to be, this is a false declaration.
False declaration.
Yeah, and also there are cases whereby they, in the course of renewal, also they have provided either wrong or misleading information. So actually, when dealing with ICA, then my advice to all applicants is that to be forthright and to be forthcoming in whatever your past is. Yeah.
So I'm curious, like what happened to the person who submitted a false declaration?
Then that's very tragic, because upon discovered that false information has been provided, then the PR was revoked altogether. And then I think that then the problem is that whether they have really uprooted themselves to migrate to Singapore. And I think that sometimes it is there is no turning back. But unfortunately, then they can't stay here. So
and they will be banned, from getting EP in the future. So but coming in as a tourist,
sometimes they are, if the offence are serious enough, and not really for false declaration, they could even be denied a visa in Singapore in future.
Wow.
At least for a period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very serious. So our viewer have to be very careful.
That's right. I think honesty is the best policy.
Yeah, correct. So sometimes we also advise our clients, to be truthful with their, declaration. Their documentation should be accurate information submitted to ICA.
That's right.
Ting Fai, have you received inquiries, from clients about PR or citizenship application or migrating to Singapore?
Yes, all the time. But however, our emphasis is to actually help those more challenging cases, usually for people who are merely thinking of migrating here. We will, of course, like to work with you, and because I think you provide very professional and one-stop services to come over. But however, when they are upon application, if they run into some hiccups and they need people to appeal or to explain, or to explain to the authorities and provide more documentation over this, then we can assist them.
Ting Fai, I believe that you have heard before some of the agents out there, right? They claim that they have special connection with ICA. What's your view on this?
Unfortunately, I think that I think some people like to believe, but I think I rather not, because I think in Singapore it is corruption free, and then I think that every application is built on their own merits. Yeah, so I think that unfortunately some dishonest people prey on this applicant and promise them 100% success based on if they know certain connections and things like that. But unfortunately, I don't think that will land them anywhere. In fact, if you given either money or benefit in kind to people in ICA to have your application expedited or approved, I think that both you and the person accepting the benefit are actually in breach of the law and could be prosecuted by the authorities.
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe we have
Yeah, there are cases like that.
yeah.
I mean, whether the applicants themselves or even the officer in ICA who actually took bribes and other benefit in kind. The bribes sometimes may not necessarily mean money. It could be also other forms of benefit, like favors or whatever, and then that will actually land them to very thick soup. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so we have to be very careful. Alright, so maybe last question,
Yes.
Ting Fai. What are the things to take note when choosing a good lawyer?
Well, I think you choose a good lawyer choose a lawyer like the way you choose a good immigration company. I think you, by word of mouth, if they seem to have very good reputation in the industry. I think main thing also, you must find people that can speak your language. Sometimes that's very important. I'm sure that you have staff here that are able to communicate with a client in their own respective language. Yeah, so I think that also if you can communicate with them, I think of course not one size fits all. Sometimes it's also the personality the chemistry between the client and the lawyer. So all these are things that you have to look out for.
I'm just curious, under what circumstances during the immigration process people will reach out to you to seek for your help or advice?
Okay, actually at many junctures, in the beginning, sometimes they come and look for us when they need to apply for visa to come to Singapore, especially those that has previous conviction in Singapore. Secondly, sometimes when they get ready to apply for any, whether be it work pass or PR, they would need us to help them to notarize the documents. I think that's the second stage. The third, of course, that after that, if they go through professionals like yourself and they run into certain hiccups along the way, and then I think that we can help them appeal or to make representation to explain some of the situation. And then of course, lastly, when the application is not successful, and then sometimes we could also step in to assist them to see how they can improve their chances during appeal. And of course, in the whole process, if they run foul of the law due to any of the things that we have discussed so far, I think that then I think of course they need our assistance.
Thank you, Ting Fai, for your kind sharing. I'm sure our viewer will find it very useful for your professional advices on Singapore law and policy.
Most welcome.
That's all for today's video. And if you find this video useful, remember to like and share with your friends. And if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye!